So you take a look at the schedule, you'll see you start working on your projects. The first one are binary games, and we already demonstrated the first couple of them, and I may do some more later. But now I want to get you started on the hands-on stuff with forensics. So F60 is just getting a Windows machine running. You could, in fact, for this course, use your native Windows machine, but that's considered a poor practice when doing forensics because you might be analyzing images that contain malware, and also you want to be able to say that you didn't have any data except from the perp on your machine. However, in this class, we're just playing with test cases, and you could, in principle, use your own machine if you wanted to. But typically, you set up a separate Windows machine. And so anyone will do. You can use a cloud machine like Azure or Google Cloud, or you can install a local virtual machine. And if you're using a Mac, then here's ED32. It's in here. Good. If you have an M1, M2, or M3, then you use these instructions, which are incredibly wonderful and easy now. There used to be a painful process of installing Windows on the Mac M1. There were a bunch of, now it's incredibly easy. You go to VMware, and you make a new machine, and there's a button right there that says Get Windows from Microsoft. That is pretty awesome. You just click that button, it downloads the Windows you need, and then you just install it like usual. It's bloody awesome. Really, really easy. And that's what I've got here. This is my Windows 11 machine I installed that way. Now, that's not good. All right, so anyway, I'm trying to install Autopsy. So once you get a Windows machine going, then the next project is to start using Autopsy. And the first thing is F200. The first thing you got to do is install Autopsy. So I clicked that, I downloaded Autopsy, I ran it. Smart Screen came up and said I couldn't run it, and as he pointed out, I had to click More Info to get past Smart Screen, but then it still didn't install for some reason, so that's rude. I'm going to try and running it again and see if I can figure out what the problem is this time. There's always something. So let's go to the Downloads folder. Maybe it just timed out, waiting for me to answer a question. You do have to have the latest version, 13.5, yeah.
Because I noticed the older version, the older version of Windows, they stopped working.
Yeah, I don't know about the older version.
At one point, Microsoft stopped.
Yeah, I think they probably took down the pre-release versions. They do take them down when the final one comes out. So I'm going to try launching Autopsy again. Let's see if it'll actually install or what. Right. That's good. So, and as you pointed out, the cure is to click More Info and run anyway. Okay, that's fine. All right, I tried to install it before, and somehow it failed, so let's see if it makes it this time. Oh, you know, it would have probably had a elevation prompt, which I probably failed to answer. At some point, it's going to have to elevate to administrator. Let's see. There we go. Next. Install. I expected it to pop up that gray screen and ask for permission, but it doesn't seem to be doing that. I wonder if I have to start it by running as administrator. That might be the case.
I was able to do mine without.
What's that?
I was able to download it without being.
No, here it is. This is the user account control. Okay. So it did, okay. Yeah, MSI files are supposed to be smart enough to prompt the elevation to administrator. But of course, what I did before was start it and go away and not answer that question. That's why it failed. So that's reasonable. So now it should finish. So Autopsy is really wonderful. It does a whole lot of forensic things for you automatically. This class has gotten much easier. Of course, the expensive stuff, FTK and Encase, have a lot more features, but Autopsy really does have all the basic features, and it makes your life easy. So now that I got Autopsy installed, I just launch it. I can search for Autopsy. There it is. Good. And to get your data, here's the evidence file, f200.e01. So I'll download that. There it is. E01 is what's called the expert witness format from a long dead product. It's what's used by Encase. It is a compressed image of a storage device, so it's very popular. It also has some metadata in it. like hash values and creation time and examiner name and stuff. So it's the standard in forensic work. Most people prefer to use E01 files to store their data, except for open source people, they like to use DD files, which are just raw disk images with no metadata. But most people use commercial tools and use the E01 format. And Autopsy is compatible with the E01 format. So here's starting Autopsy. Stores data about each case. Okay, that's interesting. I don't really care, but okay. That's new. All right, it's coming. Then I got to create a case. All right. Do I want to allow networks to access it? I will allow them, I guess. I don't know why it's doing network connections, maybe to look for updates or something. Now, if I was doing real forensic analysis, I would actually now question what the hell is it using a network for? And what is it putting on there? Because typically you want to work in isolation when analyzing a case. All right, now you have to make a new case just so it has a place to store the evidence it finds. So I'm going to call this F200, and defaults will do. Well, I have to give it a directory. So I'll browse and say documents, and I don't think I need to make a new folder in there, do I? No, just documents. Okay, good. So documents, and then next, select. Okay, select, and then next. Okay, do I want to allow? Okay, I'll allow the networks in, although, again, I'm a little troubled about why they have to get in, but what do I care? All right. Okay, now case number, I don't think I really need to fill any of this in. I'll put it in an F200. In a real case, of course, you would fill this stuff in because it's important, but it doesn't matter for what we're doing here. All right, and it takes a few seconds to create the database, which is just the empty shell that's going to hold all the evidence you put in here. And while it's doing that, I'm going to look at what comes next. Oh, and there's a, whoa, go away. Escape. No way to get this garbage off the screen. Right click doesn't do it. Yeah, this is Microsoft for you. Okay, they have to pop ads in front of you just to drive you nuts. So I got to import the data. Okay, so it's disk image or VM file, F200. Okay, all right, still booting up. And by the way, typically in a real case, you examine whole hard drives that might be 1 or 2 terabytes. So your examining machine should be really big and powerful. Huge, lots of processor, lots of RAM, otherwise you end up waiting forever. And that's why forensic people charge a lot and they spend a lot of their money on hardware. Really expensive, powerful machines. And tons of storage, and it all has to be in a locked place like a safe too. So, you know, once you get into the world of forensics, you charge a lot and you spend a whole lot of it on equipment and rooms and storage and everything. One thing to remember, by the way, if you become an independent consultant, is to charge your clients for storage and tell them at what point you're going to throw it away. Otherwise, you're going to be stuck holding on to that stuff forever, because it's hard to know when it's okay to throw it away. For a civil case, there's statute of limitations typically of 7 years, but there can be appeals and delays, and you can end up with a safe full of junk that you don't know if you can throw it away or not.
What would a general recommended time frame be?
Well, I've heard people say the maximum should be like 5 or 7 years, depending on the type of case. Other people say, after I found out all this junk, I wish I just told them I'm only storing it for 6 months unless you pay me. That sort of thing. And I got one of my friends was a consultant, and this company kept losing all their data and going back to her for an old backup, until they're coming back like 3 and 4 times, like 5 years later. And she said, this data is 5 years old. Yeah, but we lost everything. We have to get that backup again. There's a bunch of people that, you know, are really, really bad at the basic IT functions. All right, so anyway, generate new host name, that's fine, except I can't reach the next button. So let me see if I can change the resolution of my desktop. How do I get to desktop? Does this do it? Okay, that's, nope, well, let's see. All right, if I minimize this, well, Command M, nope, Command M just minimizes the whole thing. Well, this is sort of annoying. How do I get to the blooming desktop of a Windows machine without having to interrupt what it's doing. I can drag this down there, as that might get there, and close this. Ah, now I made it to the desktop. Now I want to change the resolution.
Pull that back up. I thought I saw the next button.
You saw the next button?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well that's interesting. I don't know. All right, good. Well, I guess I can keep going then. All right, thank you. So generate the host name. I don't care. Give it any name you want. Now disk image is good. Next. Now I'm going to find the image which is in my downloads folder, which is not there, just to irritate me. Right. Right. Microsoft always has to make it hard. I don't know what they think I'm going to do. Sam? There, downloads. Okay, fair enough. Anyway, I don't know why they make it so hard to find the downloads folder, but Microsoft, there it is, F200.E01. That is my evidence file in expert witness format. Okay, and California is fine for a time zone, I guess. And next. And so now it's going to run ingest modules, and I think by default I'm going to leave them all on. Let me check my instructions. This is all the processing it's going to do, and you could turn it off to make it faster, but you probably don't want to. Yeah, configure ingest just to accept the default, which is to do all that. Okay, it's a small file. It shouldn't take too long. There we go. It's processing the file. So it's taking that compressed file, unzipping it, and then running all those filters to hunt for things. Hunt for Word documents, hunt for images, hunt for all these different things. Which is why Autopsy is really just an assemblage of like 24 open source tools. That's what I used to do. Before I had Autopsy, I did this course on Linux, and you had all these different tools you would run. You'd have a special tool just to analyze RAM, another special tool to analyze images, and you learned all these tools. And it's kind of a mess. And that's why people pay for the commercial suites like FTK and Encase, where you just run one thing, out comes the report, and it's easy for everybody to use and understand. And your open source geeks will use all these open source things, and then they have to defend them in court, which is okay as long as you're really an expert. And you can say, I knew what it did, it found the right thing. But you know, an all-in-one suite like this just makes your life much easier. So it's not done yet. See, it's still analyzing down here at 61%. But it's already found some things. Like here's some file types. By extension, for example, it found 2 images and nothing else yet, but there'll probably be more things coming up. So it might be done now. It looks like that progress bar has stopped. So let's see. Okay, now find the flag, hunt around, and you will find, now there's a hello.txt that just has hello world in it. So that's not the flag. So if you look at the text files, you go to documents, yeah, plain text. So here's a file, plain text file called hello.txt, and when you click on it, it shows you the contents down here, and the contents is hello world. So that's not very exciting. And you just have to look in these other files and find the flag. One of them has something that says the flag is this. That's what you look for it and find it. Well, the most common question students have is they try to turn in this image. This is not the image containing the flag. All right. All right, and that's all you have to do. It's pretty simple. This just means you got Autopsy working. And then in future projects, we'll do more fun things with it. So I think that's all I wanted to show you today. Let me stop this recording.